This episode is sponsored in part by PTZ Optics. Why need a cameraman when you can just do it yourself? Visit ptzoptics.com for more information.
So, a lot of parents' concern right now is their son or daughter being on MySpace, Facebook, even YouTube. Zanga, that's more of a thing. Just crazy. I just decided to boot up my Windows machine, which had 3 updates for Vista, and I installed this piece of hardware that's supposed to convert my analog video to digital video. Well, I put the CD in and I'm waiting for it to automatically boot and auto start. And guess what? I have no CD drive. I just threw it out there to my viewers about the issues that you have when you call up tech support. Microsoft. Let's click run. Let's minimize this and get rid of this.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, you're saying you would definitely you would do Mac Store. Yeah. Let's run that out again. All right, we're live right now. We got Baba Booey on the phone. Go ahead, Baba Booey. You got a story for us?
Yes, my friends. Hello there. How are you today? Very good, very good, very good. I want to tell you a story. I did it at England one time. I went down to England one time, total zoo, with my 15th wife. She's the ugly one. So.
All right. So the question's out there right now. The guys in my chat are telling me that I need to interview you. The great. Welcome everybody to www.thetechbuzz.net, and some of you might be wondering the topic, as you can see at the top of my screen, baby monitors. Apple announced an announcement this past Tuesday marking the re-innovation or reinvention. You guys can spread the word here. Baby Samantha's here. She's looking at you guys.
Well, if you're like me and you're doing a broadcast or you're doing a live tech stream, or for that matter, you're just doing any stream in general, and you're sitting there and you're saying, you know, I'd really like to have the really cool effects of some of these. A lot of you guys have been following the Tech Buzz. A lot of you guys have seen the changes in the Tech Buzz all the way back from the beginning when I was back in my apartment before me and my wife moved to our house in this beautiful new studio. You've seen the Tech Buzz use Cam Twist from the early learning stages of Cam Twist to setting the stream up with the embedded chat below and the sponsor reel and the topic overhead and different things like that. Switching cameras. I showed how you could use a TriCaster-like method using a number pad and having the ability to give yourself the effect or the cheap way of looking like a TriCaster. Well, that has all changed. As you can see, there's a new layout for those of you that have been coming here. You've seen that we have changed some things up. I now have a co-host spot, and for people to do in-studio interviews and things of that nature, and we've incorporated a lot more people on Skype. And the other thing that's really changed is now I have 2 monitors sitting in front which display my call-in, and it displays my sponsor reel. Well, during this video, you probably have noticed at least once or twice, Wirecast, wow, that was perfect timing, Wirecast has popped up. And What is Wirecast, you might ask? Well, this video is about my upcoming giveaway, and I will show you. The stream here has changed a lot. We've incorporated many different features, this being one of them. Telestream, otherwise the company that made Wirecast, has given the ability to make your own little area that you call your office, your desk, your studio, the ability to turn it into a TriCaster. To the show, Steve, and I wanted to talk to you guys today, and not to mention test out another format for my Sony Webby camera. But I wanted to do this video based upon a partial sponsor that I have in Ustream.tv. Now, Ustream.tv is the site where each and every one of us come to watch the Tech Buzz. Hey guys, welcome to another edition of Broadcast Now, the show that talks about everything that has to do with what you just saw. Getting out there, getting started, getting online, doing that very thing. 15 years ago, I made that journey. And I wanted to show that because I wanted to talk a little bit today with my co-host, Mr. Marty McPadden. How you doing, sir?
Hello, how are you?
I feel old now after watching all
15 years, wow.
15 years.
Thank goodness.
Going strong. But I wanted to show that, and we've got some other clips that we're going to show throughout the show tonight about this very thing that the hardest thing to do is to get started. That's what we kind of titled tonight. Because it's hard, and so many people want to get involved and do this live streaming, Marty, that they say, yeah, I want to do this, and it was brought on by a friend of mine. For 2 years, he's been telling me he wanted to do something, and now he's finally taken the plunge to do it, and it's hard. It's very hard.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because it is hard, you know. It's like taking that first step, like going skydiving. The hardest part about is jumping out of that plane with the parachute, you know, or just taking that first step, because I think a lot of people don't know how people are going to take it and what are they going to think and am I doing the right thing. But I guess to start out the discussion, and we were talking about this offline, is the good news about that starting out is, especially if you have no presence or you're just starting up a channel maybe and just starting to do videos, there's no audience yet, which is good and bad because I think people want to build community, build audience. But the good news about that, while nobody's watching in the beginning, is that you have time to make mistakes and time to start. So there's always a starting point, you know, and it always gets better over time. I mean, just and opening up with that video, Stephen, and I know you've shown that, you know, many times, and I think that's just a great story, is look at how you started there. I mean, you started with what you had. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's nothing like you have today. I mean, look how you've grown, but that's, like you said, that was 15 years ago. I mean, that wasn't like overnight. And I think people get so caught up in, they think they're going to be like Hollywood production. Yeah. Overnight, and it's not the case. I mean,
it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
And you always say, enjoy the journey. You know, I've been working with Greg. Yeah. Greg, he has something going on tonight. Unfortunately, can't be with us. And Jeff Fitzgerald will be joining us a little later. He's running. He had a job that he was at. But you always say enjoy the journey, and that's something I can honestly say that I've enjoyed the journey. But I at least started. I took a lot of lumps, but I started.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of my friend Mark Rogers, who now has several successful college football related YouTube channels. He started, it's about 10 years ago or thereabouts, maybe a little bit more. And he knew nothing. He had no presence. The thing he did have was a passion for college football and sports. He's like a sports encyclopedia. And couple of questions I asked him, I brought this up in other shows, is, do you really love what you do? Would you do it for free? And, you know, and the answer was yes to that he told me. And I knew right away, okay, I can help you get started, because I know that you would put the time and effort into doing it and doing it for a long time. Plus, the other question is, do you love what you're doing? Do you love what you're going to be talking about? Which in his case is college football. And he's passionate. He watches it every week. He's totally into it. It's year round. So that was another yes. So, okay, so you're living your passion, right? So you're doing what you love, and that's what started it. And I can tell you for Mark, now I'm using a late model iPhone, but he started out, I think it was like, this was 10 years ago, and he started out with an old, I think iPhone
It was like
3 or 4,
I was gonna
or
say
maybe,
a 4. I think it was 4.
yeah, but even like, I think a 3GS, and it was like at that time, it was a couple of generations old. And literally his first video, what he did was and this was before front-facing cameras. He literally just held out the iPhone backwards like this, so I got the lens facing me. And with one hand, he hit the button, and he holds it out like this, doing his video, steady as can be. The guy is the other thing is not only does he know college football, but he's an on-camera professional. He used to work as a sports anchor, so he has that. So what he did was he took what he already knew, what he was good at, and then he wanted to add in, okay, I need to learn about video, I need to learn about YouTube, didn't have a presence, didn't have any equipment, but he had a phone, and it was an old phone. Held it out like this. I don't know how he did it. He pushes the button, all in one take. He would do these like 5 to 10 minute videos, one take, and then hit the button, no editing, and then publish it. And it looked, I couldn't believe how this guy could stop it without moving around. And that's how he started, and sometimes every once in a while he'll show these old videos. Now he has a studio in his house. He actually does it full time now. He used to work for ESPN. He left there in the fall, and now he's full time. He's got I think almost 20 YouTube channels on various teams. It's incredible what he's doing, but he didn't start like that. He started from zero.
Well,
But like what you said, enjoy the journey.
Yeah.
That's the big thing with him, because now he's in 10 years in. Same thing with you. You're enjoying the journey. You're 15 years in. That's why you get to the stage you are today, because you stay with it.
And I think a lot of people, Marty, they get this notion when they get on camera, they start doing these live shows like, I'm going to be the next big thing. I'm going to be the next Ryan Seacrest, or I'm going to be the next Dick Clark. I'm going to be the man in broadcasting. And for me, that wasn't ever a dream or a goal. I figured if it happens, it happens. It's one of those things. My goal was to get into the industry. My goal was to get a job doing what I love to do. And I've succeeded at that. I've made it to the point where I've made it into the industry. And I'm a commodity in the industry where people, I love working with different companies. I'm respected in that area. And I get paid to work with broadcasting equipment. I get paid to broadcast. I get paid to break things in broadcasting to make products better. That's what I do. But we're talking 15 years. Now, I was with Telestream almost 10 years of that, as an employee, and then a couple of years as a contractor, and now moving over with PTZ Optics. I definitely put my time in. I paid my dues, so to speak, and I think a lot of people, Mark Rogers included, Mark paid his dues. He did what he needed to do, and even in what I'm doing in the outdoors, what I'm doing in the arcade, this is all stuff that I would do whether I get 200 views, 2,000 views, stuff I love to do. So
Right.
What you're saying is true. Like, you have to love what you do. If we get 10 people watching this show live, but we get like 500 people watching, hopefully this helps somebody to give them that edge, right? To start doing something like this.
Yeah, and I think dovetailing on what you've already said and kind of your video introduction, one of the things I see that people make a mistake of, and it may be that obviously there's a fear factor there of getting started, wonder what people are going to think. And one thing I see a lot of people doing is talking about the equipment, and like talking maybe to one of us, and we're working at a certain level, and nobody expects you to come out of the gate with all this gear. Like what you have in your studio, you have all this gear, you set up, but that's taken time to build up. I think a lot of people say, they start. What I hear a lot, I'm not sure what you hear, but I hear from clients, they always go right to the equipment discussion. What camera, what microphone, and there's things you can do to get set up very simply and very inexpensively start out. So that's the good news. But the bad news is, it's like I see them using it as a crutch almost. Like they get caught up with that. And what you should be doing is, I think most people have actually the gear that you need already in your possession. And I'm talking about this. A lot of people now, and these, especially late model cell phones like this iPhone here, iPhone 12, the quality of the optics and the cameras now are getting up there where there are actually professional content being produced by professional filmmakers, where you can't take a big rig, and it's amazing. And what I would say is, and we were just having this discussion offline before we started the show about your friend, I would say, and you were suggesting, you already have your phone, start with this as your camera. And what I would say to folks is, if you have one of these, start with this. And then the goal should be, how good can I make it look with what I already have? And frankly, if you work at it, you can make this look really, really good.
No.
But it takes time. It takes work to do that. Lighting and different things you can do out. Even if you have no lighting, if you do outdoors using natural light, how good can I make it look with what I have access to, including audio and whatever. But that's what I would say is starting out of the gate.
Well, and I think with my friend, like you were saying, because I'm not gonna I'm not gonna call him out or anything, but he knows I love him dearly. He's been talking to me for 2 years about doing something. He's really passionate about golf, and he's very good at it. He knows how to do things with golf. I know nothing about it. And I told him, well, why don't you, he likes TikTok, and I said, well, why don't you start shooting some video, not like high-end video, with your phone on TikTok, and producing it, and then putting it up there for people to watch, and then break it down into the different parts to it. And he's like, yeah, I should do that. And I'm like, so this is our yearly talk, right? We're gonna go over this now next year. You're gonna tell me how much you should start this. And he's like, I'm just so worried, like what people are gonna think, and how am I gonna behave on camera? And I said, you should behave on camera the same way you behave if you weren't on camera. Meaning, like, don't worry about if the camera's running. The camera's just there, And so I told him what I would do is, get a few supplies and make yourself a putting green, and get a nice muslin backdrop, and some lights. I said, there's lights that are cheap, and I told him about these lights, and this is what he sent me the other day. He ordered this under $60, folks.
Yeah.
A green screen that he's going to use for part of his putting green. He got those 3 lights, which I use for my gaming rig. They're really good. And then he, Marty, back to the phone here, got a ring light that he could set up with multiple temperatures, all for under $60. And
just to be clear, this is a golf related channel that like instructional and sharing different tips and techniques.
Yeah, that he's trying to do, right?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, again, the idea here, especially when you're starting out, is you want to spend as little, literally just starting out, you want to spend as little as possible and try to use what you have. And really, because couple things. One, obviously, you're not sure if this is going to be right for you, so it would be kind of a shame to buy thousands of dollars worth of equipment and find out, well, maybe this is not something I really want to pursue long term. So you're going to save yourself a lot of money that way. But number 2 is it forces you to really learn the fundamentals. So we'll point to the cell phone. And one of the reasons I said the object is to really learn how to get the most out of this, using techniques, framing techniques. How do I get the best image quality out of by using just natural lighting, camera angles, just the content itself. Like you were mentioning, giving suggestions as far as how to show different putting techniques and kind of building your own putting green very inexpensively, using like the palette and using the grass carpeting, and then maybe using a muslin background. And as long as it looks good, and it's not very expensive, and it can look really, really good, But the idea is to maximize what you have, learn the techniques, learn how a camera actually works, and how do you get the most out of it, you know? And instead of, because you can get all this expensive equipment, and then the next thing you know is you have a lot of expensive equipment that you don't know how to use.
Right.
And you really don't know how to get the most out of it. You know, I use one of the oh, hey Jeff, how are you? There he is. See?
We're not live, are we?
Right? Look at our game running in. One of the analogies I always like to use when we're talking about this equipment thing is Tiger Woods, and a golf analogy, very fitting, where, you know, say, imagine you're a golfer and you're playing Tiger Woods or any top flight pro, and you get the best possible set of clubs, you know, the best of everything, best drivers, best woods, all irons, all that stuff, top quality. But you're a kind of a weekend hacker. You really don't know what you're doing. And you give a professional just a ratty old set of maybe wooden clubs that are all warped or whatever. What do you think's going to win?
Oh, he's still going to kick your butt.
Right? You know, because they know, like a pro golfer knows how to use the equipment. So he'll get the most out of it. Even with a ratty set of clubs, they're still going to smoke you because they actually learn how to use the equipment that they have. And then when you're a professional, you get the better equipment. And in a professional, you obviously shaving 1 or 2 strokes off a round. It means the difference between winning a tournament and losing. So for them, you know, a high level piece of equipment means a lot because they actually know how to use it. Versus, you know, a person just starting out doesn't really know how to use it. It's kind of a waste of money. So.
No, I would agree with that. And Jeff, so you know, we've been talking about, you know, how hard it is, you know, just to get started, right? And I was talking about my buddy who's been wanting to do a golf channel on TikTok, and he's been telling me for the last 2 years he wants to do it. And I was like, so this is going to be a yearly discussion, right? We're going to have this. I said, just pull the trigger and start. And his biggest thing was, like, I'm worried about what people think and what people say. And I showed my history of starting. And I want to play a clip right now real quick to show, you know, I had some different goals. Like, I went out to different trade shows, and I'd encourage anybody that's starting to do this. You really want to make an impact in the industry that you're in, go to trade shows. Let these people know that you're serious about what you're doing.
That's right.
One of my goals was to meet the guy you heard me talk about in the past, emulating a person named Leo Laporte. I had the opportunity to meet him at CES 2011.
Hey, how you doing?
Oh my God, it's this guy. He's been copying me.
I've been, yes. I'm sure you heard about that, huh?
Yeah, no, I know. I
Yeah.
watch.
Oh, you watch?
Yeah, sure. It's a dueling microphones. I don't know how we're going to do this. Yeah, yeah. So tell me about the Tech Buzz.
Well, basically, you are the inspiration because you've been doing this now for a while, and we're
And
trying
I'm
to
gonna die soon, and he can do it. He's a young guy. I'm eating this. Whoa,
How is that, by the way? Looks pretty good.
it's good. Stay away from it. Steve Haywood's trying to steal my food.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to try to steal your food here. Just wanted to stop by and say hi. I know you're busy, but
What's the website?
www.thetechbuzz.net, which you know because you still.
I know. I watch it all the time.
He's
Nice to see you, Steve.
Nice to meet you.
All right, take care.
Take it. Well, I'd shake your hand, but yeah.
Oh.
Not now, right there. Only Leo Laporte could do that.
Yeah. And don't forget it, Steve.
So that was one of the highlights that I had at the time. You know, it was one of my aspirations was to meet the man who influenced how I did things. And you know, I was talking to the guys. The internet blew up when that happened. But again, look at the technology. You guys got cell phones. Jeff, I'm sure you're using that in some of your productions. I carried around a freaking 80-pound backpack computer that Live View had at the time. Is, you know, cutting-edge technology, hooked to a camera. I'm interviewing people with a cable connected to me, and I couldn't go far from my camera guy because I was the young guy. I had the good back at the time, and he had the bad back. So we took turns carrying this thing. Technology has changed.
Technology has changed even in the last couple years, months, weeks, days, and hours. I mean, we all know the story of that. You know, I only recently went out and upgraded to I think it's the bigger than an iPad version of the iPhone. And I didn't need a phone that was bigger by and large. I wanted a better camera. And you make a great point there that the technology is now at a place where it's no longer a barrier to being able to produce some really, really cool content. But, even beyond, getting a better camera, getting better microphones, we've talked about this day in and day out, that if you really don't know what you're trying to do with it, you don't have a story behind it, that's where you really got to start. But that video was awesome. Leo Laporte, I mean, I watched him on the Screensavers for years. He's got, I think, the coolest vibe in the broadcast tech space, and he is definitely someone to be having a microphone war with.
Well, and for you younger guys, I see there's a bunch of younger guys in here, like your average gamer net. Another highlight that I had, I actually got grabbed at that same CES. We were at a invite only. Like, there was only like 60 of the top journalists. You got invited to this, and I got invited to it through Tech Talk. I think it was Tech Talk TV. They were based out of Arizona. Andy Taylor, at the time, he's like, he was helping me try to get into these places. He's like, I like what you're doing. I'm gonna help you get your break. I got to get into this thing, and I got to meet some guy who I had no clue who it was at the time, named T-Pain.
Hey, how you doing? My name is Stephen Haywood. I'm the host of the Tech Buzz. Nice. What do you got going on here with this mic?
Man, I got the T-Pain microphone right here, just getting ready to blast it off. You know what I'm saying? Just making it cool, man. You know what I'm saying? Making the world sound better one voice at a time. I'm ready to go.
So when's this coming out? When is it?
This is going to be June-ish, July-ish, I want to say. So, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to really press the date on it. You know what I'm saying? Because I want to make it perfect. So I'm saying June-ish, July-ish-esque, stuff like that.
So this is a wireless-based mic?
Yeah, it is. We have audio right here. And,
get a close-up of that?
We got. You want that audio right there? We have a speaker on the bottom. Power button. We have actual original beats from me, T-Pain, and my producer, Youngfire. You can record right there, playback right there. This is what gives you the freestyle T-Pain effect right there. And you get a couple ad-libs from T-Pain himself. So if you want to do a song with T-Pain, you can just hit that button a couple times. And how about this? Boom! Whoa! Upload it right to Facebook, right from the mic, USB port. Bam! Right into your computer. How do you feel about that now? Yeah.
What are we looking at for the price range of this?
We're looking at $39.99.
Wow.
How about that?
Wow.
Come with it?
Say it again?
Jewels come with it?
Jewels come with it. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. The bracelets and the rings and the watches and the necklaces all come with it.
Well, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Let me turn this back on here. So I was just telling the guys, I was trying to find the video of Lady Gaga. We ran into her by accident. We walked behind, she was releasing her headphones, and we walked behind the booth, and she was there. And we're like, can we interview her? I knew who she was, but I didn't know who T-Pain was. But my point is, just like that, I got tons of views on that thing just because it was T-Pain. And not many people had access to that, to what he was releasing. And 4 years later, he released it. You don't know who you're going to run into at these trade shows that are in the industry that are going to help boost you.
That's right.
But if you don't get started, it's never going to happen, right? So you got to push your way and make it happen. And I'm going to show another clip. I know I got a lot of clips tonight, so you're not getting this is your tip of the week. It's spread out, right?
It's on movie night.
Well, I'm trying to show people, as things changed, you saw the quality there. The quality was garbage, right? But we had, I remember, I think we had like 20 to 30,000 people watching because it was CES, right? Everybody wanted to see what the latest iPhone case was going to be.
Yep.
That's what it seemed like. But I think the highlight of anybody that I've interviewed happened to be this guy.
Welcome, everybody, to episode number 34 of Mac and Tuesday here on September 14th, 2010. I have a very, very special guest with me today, and how fitting, being it Tuesday, we cover all things Macintosh, then the co-founder of Apple Incorporated himself, Mr. Steve Wozniak. Welcome to the show, Steve.
Well, it's quite an honor to be invited to be on your show.
Well, I appreciate you coming on here, and I know there's a lot of people who I've been hyping this up for a couple weeks, and they're really excited to see you here.
Yikes. When I go out in public, I always try to spend as much time as I can meeting people, shaking hands, taking pictures, doing autographs, because that means a lot to a lot of people. I don't know why.
So I think for
Wow.
me, that was kind of like, you know, the biggest, and I don't know. We just kept pushing the bar, right? We just kept trying to get the guests, and then I got you guys as guests and co-hosts. So now I'm set. I'm set for life. I don't need to have anybody else.
You know what this speaks to is, and this is why you need to start if you're looking to create content, is not even just all about the content. It's about the community that you build and the people you meet and the relationships you build. Yeah, I mean that's everything, and what you're gonna find. And this is why also I think Stephen, you may have mentioned this, is when you start out, obviously it's nerve-wracking. You want to, what are people gonna think? I'm a little nervous, but the one thing that you really need to keep in mind is be true to yourself, be authentic, be the real you, and don't try to put on a performance unless you're doing some dramatic performance, and that's part of it. But if it's something that you're putting content out that you believe in, that you're enthusiastic about, be yourself. Don't worry about necessarily impressing anybody. What you're going to find is the world's big enough. You'll attract the right audience, and you'll attract the people that are attracted to you. And then that way, you're building a true community versus putting on a performance, putting on something that's not real. And I think that's kind of what you are demonstrating, Stephen, is you went out there, you were on camera all the time. Like the early days, like you would eat at your desk. And those were the days of, I don't know if everybody remembers Ustream and Justin TV. Justin TV was one of the first real live 24/7 live stream platforms. And you were certainly early days on that. And you would stay on there all the time. But it was all about really building community and building that first level of community with those early live streamers. And those are people that really were attracted to what you were trying to do and the content you were putting out. And I would say to your friend or anybody who's producing content, that's really the approach you want to take, is to do that. And what you're going to find is people are generally very supportive because they want to see you do well. And especially if you're sharing great content, that's kind of the relationship and the bargain that you strike with your community. And if people see that you're real, then starts becoming a real community, and you start meeting people. And I always look at building relationships as like a spider web. It's like a web effect, and you see all these interconnections. And what you're going to find is it's a small world, and you'll see it kind of builds back on itself. And especially like for me, I've built a business doing that. Like all my clients are all referrals and behind the scenes relationships and connections, because they see what you're about, and I think that that's the most important thing. Is I would say go into it with that attitude. I think you'll do really, really good.
Yeah, and to kind of piggyback off of that, Marty, I think you're exactly right that it is like a web effect. There's a community that is incredible. And what I think a lot of people don't understand is that it's easier to get into that community than you might think, because if you have a passion about technology or fashion or auto racing or whatever it might be, people can see that passion. Steve, the great thing about these clips that you showed was that you just had a passion for what you were doing. And I think that's what everybody recognized when they would see this guy coming along and, dare I say, be a little bold and confident and step out in front of everybody and stand there with Leo Laporte, and it was no big deal, because you were much more interested in what what you were talking about and meeting somebody. And it was really the fabric of that whole thing. And I'll tell you this, I don't know about anybody else, but I can tell you, when you think about going live and you're not sure you want to, and it's early or whatever it might be, you're worried about what others may think. The truth is, you're only worried really about rejection that you have to face yourself, I believe, because I know for me, I can handle people not liking, something I've tried to put together and those kind of things. That's just kind of part of the territory. But I don't want to disappoint myself. And so what happens is you push it out. Back in the early 90s, I was doing a lot of web design, Steve, and I was the king of the coming soon webpage, because I hadn't learned yet to do all the JavaScript and Perl and PHP and MySQL and stuff. And so I had these grand ideas. I even actually built a search engine for flag football and sold it for I think it was $10,000. But I didn't know enough to do what my head had in it. And so I'm holding back. I'm waiting. I want to be at this level here. But the thing is, had I just started, guarantee you the community Wozniak types would have come on board and said, hey, you know what, man, that's a cool vision. You're going to do a little thing, a little this or that with a website. I want to come along and I can do this. and I can do that. And before you know it, you've got some really, really great friends. And it's much more different at that point. Now, the action of being in front of a camera is no big deal because that's not the focus anymore. Remember, a camera is nothing more than a telephone. Nobody, I don't think, you guys might be different, stands with their phone going, should I make this call? Should I don't know. I don't know if I can do this. What is everybody going to think of when I get on the call? It's a mechanism to communicate. That's all it is. But you got to know who you are in that, right? So there's some issue there, I think, about really kind of figuring out what that looks like. But I really believe it comes down, at least for me, I don't want to disappoint myself because I already know where my dark, shadowy valleys are. And, you know, it hurts when those things get hit. But how else are you going to find the adventure in life if you don't put yourself out farther and try something that may be completely uncomfortable? You know, I love the phrase embrace the awkward because that's what it's really about with live streaming. Just get out there and do what you want to do, not what other people want you to do, and then just see what happens.
Yeah, and somebody in the chat room said, you know, I used to have a really big following, and my following kind of spread out, you know, because I'm doing a lot of the other different things. I'm not involved with tech anymore like I was because it just became oversaturated, and I got involved in the arcade industry and the broadcast industry and the outdoor industry, and so my followers just kind of spread out in that aspect of things. But going along the lines of it, Jeff did an interview with me a while back, and if you guys want to check it out, go watch it. I think it's on your YouTube channel, right? Or is it on your
Actually,
actual website?
I have a private Facebook group for content creators who are just great people that want to learn, and that's the only way to get in. There's nothing being sold or anything like that. It's called the Digital Green Room from Jeff and High Def, and if you're interested in joining, I'll put you in. I'm guaranteeing you it looks like there's not a lot going on, but when you ask a question, great people want to gather around and try to help with that. And as we get into the fall, I'm going to be doing more programming. And part of that programming was a show called Profiles, where I was interviewing a lot of the people I knew, Steve included. And we had a really great interview that talks about him facing the challenges with his health and with his, you know, with the he had a growth on his nose. It was a big thing. But I wanted to bring that up, Steve, because to me, seeing you in these videos, you stepped out like nobody's business. And there was nothing wrong with doing that. But a lot of people would step back and go, you know, one eye is bigger than the other. Or, you know, my nose is big. Like mine's starting to look like, you know, the Liberty Bell. And it's like you get weirded out by stuff. But you actually laid every bit of that aside for the love of what you want to do. And look what happened. And now here you are where you're not even worried about followers because you're doing your thing authentically and people are coming to you naturally, which is the best way to do it.
Well, and I think that was the hardest part, right? I think that for me was the hardest part, and I approach things the same way. Like I've taken complete professionalism. I think I've learned how to do it, right? We've had Stevie Richards on the show here, Michael Mann, a good friend of mine for the last 15 years. I remember helping him, a former professional wrestler. He's semi-retired right now. And I remember helping him with Wirecast, and I couldn't put two and two together. And then he's like, after 2 hours, he's like, you don't recognize me, do you? And I'm like, I think I've heard you or met you somewhere before. He goes, probably on TV. And I'm like, what? And he told me who he was. And I just continued to help him like I would any other person. And we just kind of formed a friendship. I have his phone number. We talk back and forth. He's actually coming up to the area next weekend. So he's going to come over to the studio, and I've just kind of kept that. He's just a guy with all these guys, even though he's not, but he is just a guy. You know, he's just. I think people get too starstruck. Like even with Leo Laporte, I just talk to him like I'm talking to you guys, and I think they respect that a lot more, and it kind of makes you more comfortable when you're talking to him.
Yeah, but the thing is, too, Steve, you wouldn't have had that opportunity had you not just stepped out on your own in that lonely apartment room that looked like Star Trek with all the equipment. Because you have to start somewhere, right? And the truth is, all that was great because you're into technology, but literally, I mean, being in the corner of a room with no paintings on the wall is fine. If you want to sit there and say, you know what, I've had a hard day. Have you ever had a hard day? This is what it feels like for me, but I'm coming out of it a little bit, and I just wanted to maybe hear something encouraging and tell you a little bit about what I think would make your day better. People love communicating, right? I mean, that's what we're all about. And so had you not done that, you wouldn't have met Leo and all these other folks, ran into Lady Gaga. And, you know, I mean, we're going to have the red carpet out here soon for your TMZ interview and all that. But you know what I'm saying? It starts with you doing something scary. Every great trip to the promised land starts with you doing something, looking off of a cliff into the dark abyss and seeing the beautiful on the other side of that. And you've got to decide if you're going to go for it, if you're going to stay here and camp out. and that's going to be your story. Everybody's got a story. The question is, what do you want yours to be?
Well, and that was the thing. At an early age here, I'm showing this here. We can talk over this one.
Cool.
I was asked to speak at PodCamp Pittsburgh 5. I think that was like almost 7 or 8 years ago. I was nervous, and the reason I want to talk over this is because Jeff, you're talking about being nervous and stepping out. I'm like, dang, man, if I do this, and I said to my wife, I said, man, what if 3 people only show up into the room? She says, who cares? She says, do it as if the room was full. And I'm like, I don't know. And I said, well, maybe I don't want the room full because, maybe I'll be scared to death to do this, right? If you watch the actual the video on YouTube, this is just a minute clip. There was standing room only in this room because people knew me from online and locally. They came out, and then there was probably like 20 people standing around the room. I was just humbled by that because I was scared to death.
How did it make you feel, though, in terms of nerves?
Oh, dude, I was scared. I mean, like, yeah. I honest to God, like, people think
that's the point, right? I mean, you embrace it.
I really was. I was sitting there, and this is what I'm saying to you guys out there. You can't be, like what Jeff is saying, you can't be afraid to step out. I'd never spoken at an event. This was the first event I had ever spoken at. I had no idea, what am I supposed to do? What's the etiquette? Do I, you can see by my logo how old it is, right?
I love it.
It just, here we're going to come back to our live camera here in just a second, but, the biggest thing I think people need to do, and with all this too, is to stay humble. I think when you start thinking you're all that in a bag of chips, that's when things start going downhill. You can't. You're just a person. You're just another fish in the sea, right? You're. Yeah. I always say that to people. I'm like, because people are like, oh, you're like an influencer or whatever. And I'm like, I'm just a person that has a job to do, right?
Well, Marty, how many people we see these days that's their goal, right? I mean, they've done 2 unboxings of something, and now they're like writing to everybody they can think of, asking for like Cadillac hubcaps and other things like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think the mistake, and that was a good segue. I think that mistake some people make, is they go into it for the wrong reasons. So we talk about, one of the things I asked Mark Rogers when he first started and asked for help at getting his YouTube started was those questions. Would you do it for free? Is it something you're really passionate about? Do you really enjoy it? That type of thing. Do it for that. And also the other thing is, and Stephen, we were talking about this offline about your friend getting started, and lots of times we hear this, different little excuses. They're a little afraid to start, which is totally normal. But, enjoy the journey. I mean, that's really what it's all about. I mean, I think a lot of people want to get to the finish line, and the kind of the dirty little secret is there's really no finish line, at least for me. And I've been in this business for a while in various capacities, and now I'm on my own, but I don't see any finish line. I'm always seeing, well, what's something new I can learn? How can I make it better? Like what I do with clients, how can I make it better? How can I make the process better? How can I make the quality better? What else can I learn? I love what I do. I love it. And a lot of people that are successful in it love what they do. And I would say enjoy the fun part is the journey. I mean, if you're not really enjoying it, what's the point? And also if you're getting into it and looking just to get like, how many followers can I get? What's my audience from day one? It's like, I would say literally for the first year, put away the analytics, just concentrate on making really good content and enjoying learning and stepping and taking each step. Because if you're really true to it and people, Steve, I'm not sure if we talked about this. I love watching, I work from home. I love watching YouTube. I think the whole creator economy is fascinating to me. And I see people now, because of what is available to people, and you don't need to spend $1 million, but the people I watch, there are some people that are doing some incredible content about whatever they're passionate about. So I think next year I'm in the market. I'm getting in the market to get a new car, and probably sometime next year. So I'm learning. It's like, well, let me see what's on YouTube. So I'm checking out the car guys on YouTube, and there's this one guy out of Florida that is just like Mr. Enthusiasm and doing this great, and he's been doing it for a while. He used to be a school teacher, Now he's full time. And I love watching. I'm not a car guy. I love watching this stuff because he's so enthusiastic and he's so real. And he's reviewing these cars, and he has a certain cadence and a certain kind of catchphrases that he uses, and that's the thing. He's enjoying what he's doing, and you could tell. And also because of that, he puts a lot of work into it. He gets better and better. I've seen some of his live streams. He loves the community. He gets it. He loves the community. That's why you do this. And if you do it that way, you're going to be in it long enough to be able to get good at it over the long haul. And that's really the message here. It's like, put away this quick start guides. Do it because you love it. Start, like you said, Steven, start with this, and then build as you go, and then enjoy it. It's going to be, hopefully if you like it, you're going to be in it for years. Like these are, you're in it for 15 years. Jeff, you've been doing it forever. We've all been doing this forever. We love it. Enjoy it.
That's it. Yeah.
And
that is really it, because, it's funny when you think about people on YouTube, like I love Peter McKinnon, a great photographer, and there's so many other people that are doing great, not just great content about something different than technology or photography or video, but it looks beautiful. And the one thing I think is the correlating factor with every single one of them is everybody can sit back and go, that guy's passionate about what he does and he loves what he does. That's like, I would almost say, the number one thing that makes you attractive to a community. And I couldn't agree with you more, Marty. There's no reason to try to pretend. There's an old saying in Hollywood, and it's a little bit, I'd say, nasty, in the sense of they have a phraseology that says if you're a screenwriter, you need to throw up your first script. It's going to be messy. It's going to be horrible. Nobody wants to be around it. It's going to make you sick. It's not going to be what you want, but you write another one. And then you're not quite as sick. And then you do another one. And one day you realize that you actually overcome this thing that had to get out of you, because creative people and being creative, those words are kind of abstract and analogous, but it's like giving birth. You don't have something in the world yet, and you're bringing it out. And so there is a process like that, I think. But passion is where you're going to find your golden key to the promised land, I think.
I think that's the reason we started this show back up, honestly, was it's an outlet for us, but it's also a way that we can share our experience with you, and hopefully you guys can learn from the mistakes that I made, as you saw, as we get more into this. But it's an exciting time. There's a lot of new things in broadcasting that are making your journey into live video that much easier. Tools, I think somebody said it on Haps that earlier on, that 15 years ago, the tools, we had to cobble everything together just to bring a Skype caller in, and now there's choices, right? You have NDI, which we're going to talk about in a couple weeks. You have all these other switching softwares that are out there that we didn't have 15 years ago. We had Wirecast, CamTwist. What else do we have? We had VidBlaster.
Mm-hmm.
We had a couple other really cheap. When I say cheap, they were cheesy. They were free. You saw my earlier video where it's moving at 3 frames a second. It looked awful. That's what this stuff did. Now you got StreamYard, you got OBS, which is powerful. And I use OBS, even though I have the TriCaster set up, because I use it for a tool. But you got to do it. You just got to step out and just do it. Don't worry about what you look like. Don't worry if you stutter, because I'll be honest, Jeff Adams is a prime example, and I'm sure he wouldn't mind me saying this. He had a stuttering problem. When I first started working with him and I was producing his shows, he was scared to death because he had a stutter, and he was dyslexic on top of it. So imagine reading a script or something that he had to do and being dyslexic and have a stuttering problem. The more he broadcasted, Jeff, the more he did, he's on the radio now.
Oh, he's not only on the radio. He's the kind of person that literally, if you put a microphone in front of him, you can basically sit back for 3 or 4 hours. It's like listening to Amazon Alexa. You've got content coming. He can create content out of thin air. It doesn't matter what it is. He's got a way of bringing it out. And what is so awesome about that story is that whatever was the thing in the past that he may have been fearful of is not there anymore. Same thing with me. I still get very nervous being in front of a camera. And I grew up in it. 7 years old, my mom was a TV producer. Been around it my entire life. and that life's getting longer, by the way. But the thing is, you never stop worrying about these things. You never stop thinking, what is everybody going to think if I do something stupid or it doesn't work right? But it doesn't matter. You do it anyway.
Yeah, you have to get started. You have to move forward. And I oftentimes sit back and look. Believe me, there's days, and I'm sure you guys feel the same way. There's days where I've sat there and I go, why am I doing this? Nobody cares what I have to say. Nobody cares what I'm doing. Why am I wasting my time coming on here? And, people just want to heckle me, or people want to, this goes through your head even 15 years after doing this. It goes through your head.
And it's harder now, Marty. I mean, isn't it true back when, you were working at ESPN, and I've been doing things, back in the real day, even before what we were doing a lot of times, there were 3 channels, right? ABC,
Yep.
CBS, and NBC. Fox was in there sometimes, and maybe PBS. And the world was a lot bigger. My mother, who did a documentary on PBS in 1980, had 32 million viewers. That is never going to happen again, with the exception of the Super Bowl and things like that, because now there is such scattered media. There's no such thing as mass media anymore, right? And so it is harder to get viewers and followers. But the good part of that is, Marty, those things are not necessarily how you get to being successful.
Yeah, I mean, I've had this discussion with various people. I think we're in the middle of a huge transition here in media. And that's why I'm such a fan of YouTube. I don't do a lot of, most of my work's behind the scenes now. I don't publish a lot. I haven't published on my YouTube channel in years. But I watch a lot of it, and I respect all the content creators. But what I'm seeing is, back in the day, and Jeff, both of you remember this, Jeff, you remember this, you needed permission to put out any kind of media or content, whether it was a book, you needed a publisher. Video, you needed either a network or a television station or a cable station to agree to put your stuff on. Now, you need none of that. You can go direct. And frankly, there are people doing, that's why I am so excited about this whole creator economy and what people are doing. And I see it with clients that I'm working with. If you have a good idea, if you have a passion, if you have something to say, you can go direct. And people are building huge businesses, media related, whether it's part of their main business, you're just kind of doing promotion for their main, and I work with clients in that area, or if it's an actual media business, whatever the interest is, whether it's cars, whether it's political talk shows, whether it's arts and crafts, whether it's, technology. I mean, there are people that have grown 7-figure businesses, and working with whole teams and basically creating whole networks that are rivaling mainstream media and corporate media and what they're doing. And frankly, and also they don't need to attract the millions of people. They need a few thousand and what's great is, and I call this new world participatory media, meaning I see the comments on the various platforms that I'm looking at the various screens. I see the comments. That's the new world here. It's not just one-way mass media. It's people that are tuning in. Angel Hill, I'm looking at. Joe Zahidas. I'm looking at Adam Kalb. Hollywood Polo. I'm looking at the various comments coming in on the networks that we're simulcasting on. Those are the folks we're having this conversation. That's the difference that mass media can't have. And you know what? There's nobody who has to give you permission. And with a little bit of work, not too much money, you could look like the big guys. I mean,
that is so true.
You don't need the millions of dollars. I mean, I when I was at ESPN, those control rooms are millions of dollars, and they're, huge structures, and the sets are big, and we have big sound stages and things like that. But you don't need to go. You don't have the millions. But we're all like, I'm in my little office with this setup. Steven is in his basement with his studio setup. I mean, Steven, I don't think you've spent millions of dollars. I mean, you spent some money, you built it up, but it's not millions.
No.
And you're not in some fancy studio. You built this up on yourself, and your stuff looks as good as anything else on TV.
Right.
Same thing with you, Jeff. Look at your shot. I mean, but you didn't start that. You built up. But I see people doing some incredible work, and that's the difference now. Is that
it is a total difference.
Totally, So that's where you can head, but you ultimately, in this title of the show, is you have to take that first step.
And Rexer, I just want to put this comment up. He says a great example of this is the Barstool Sports. You know,
Barstool, yeah.
There's a lot of good stuff out there on the web, and content's just getting better. I like you guys. I like to watch content that's out there. What we want to do for a future show, we're gonna have to wrap this up here shortly. We've done this in the gaming show where we've opened up Zoom, and we want you guys to start compiling things that you're struggling with in the broadcasting space. You're trying to get your show off. I don't care what kind of show you're trying to do. I don't care if it's an arcade show. I don't care if it's a golf show. I want to put that out there. In a couple weeks, we want to do that, and we want to invite you to come on a Zoom call, and we're going to pretty much leave it up to you guys to come up here and say, you know, I'm really struggling with this, or I'd really like to do this, but I'm not sure how to do it. This is the purpose of this show. It's not just for us to dictate you. And we are watching the comments. You see I'm throwing them up on the screen. But we want to give you that opportunity to come on here and have that roundtable discussion with us on how, you know, you can get past, as Jeff said, that hurdle that's there in your, if you're doing a fishing show, I do an outdoor show, so I know, you know, I'm good with that. I can get going with that. But I do want to let you know, next week, one of my day jobs, I also work on staff at a church. We have VBS all next week, so I am committed to that. So there won't be a show next week. We'll be back the following week. And the following week, there is going to be some huge things to talk about with NDI, NDI 5 coming out. So I'm pretty confident that it'll be launched by then. And we're going to possibly do some demonstration and show you what the big to do with it is. Again, tools I wish I had 15 years ago, but you know, hey, that's the beauty of it all. But so you know, Jeff being an awesome on-screen talent, you guys might have questions for him on, you know, how do you just stay on target?
How do you look plastic and look like David Hasselhoff?
Oh yeah, I took the Hoff out of that because of you're in Greg's spot usually because I had to.
That's right.
Makes it easy for me to switch if I have all you guys the first 5. So usually it's the first 5 buttons. Now today it's the first 4, but before you would have been 6. So yeah, it means nothing to you, but for me it's like I got to be able to do this with my eyes closed here. But yeah, as always, I know you were out there in Gettysburg, so as always, it's great to have you jump in and no hiccups. Everything worked good.
Yep, I'm based in Northern Virginia, but I do live streaming from the David Wills house where Lincoln wrote the second part of the Gettysburg Address, slept there in that wonderful building, and changed the course of the nation through that 2-minute message to everyone at Evergreen Cemetery. So it's a wonderful place to be where I'm working. I do a lot of work up there on and off pretty regularly now. We're probably doing 5 live streams a month, somewhere 3 to 5. And it's been incredible. So I'm really enjoying it, and it's coming up on a year here soon. So
awesome. If you guys are interested, check them out, jeffinhighdef.com. And again, the Digital Green Room on Facebook. If you look it up, you'll see. I think your picture is still there as the icon, correct?
I kind of took it down because I get sick of looking at myself. I thought I looked like a realtor, but maybe I'll put it back up so people can find me.
Well, you'll find it. The digital.
It's me, right?
Yeah, the Digital Green Room.
Yeah, but yeah, the Digital Green Room from Jeff and High Def, and we'd love to have you come and ask questions and just be part of a community. Really, I'm looking for folks that want to learn and do it authentically and just really get the help they need. And there's no cost to it. That's what we're trying to do.
And there's a bunch of different guys there that we'll probably eventually get on as guests to come on here and talk about their specialties. I know there's a few guys in there that are really good with photography, but they understand lighting and all this other stuff that would make my head spin. So it'll be really, really good to have them come on. So, again, Jeff, we really appreciate you jumping in. And Mr. Marty McPadden.
Love being with you guys.
Podjam.tv is the place to be if you're looking for podcasting editing as well as production.
Podcasting, editing, audio and video. We do video podcasting as well, and we also do some live streams. So yeah, looking for your business or whatever. So yeah, pretty busy with that. So check it out.
Yeah, make sure you guys check that out. And Patience comes in and says, the other day when you were doing your Fortnite stream, you were using the same thumbnail. I did. Unfortunately, OBS kind of did that. I tried to change it afterwards, but I was like, people want to watch people. we're just having some fun. Roger Smith says really quick before we roll out of here, he says, good show, guys. Very informative. And, on that note, on the plug, tomorrow night is the Retro Buzz. Myself, Glenn, Planamento, and Douglas Smith. We get into all things arcades and gaming, and there's a lot to talk about tomorrow. So if you're into that stuff, tune in at 6 p.m. Again, it's a fun show that we would do it anyways, as Marty always says. We would do it anyways, even if we had a few people watching. But we know you guys like the banter, and maybe you all could help me and instruct Glenn that this is the way your video is supposed to look when you're doing a show, not broken up on a green screen. I like to pick on him. But let him know, like, hey, come on. He can do it. He's just being lazy. Again, it's that laziness, right? So, guys, a couple weeks we're going to talk about NDI. So I encourage you guys that want to know more about that and what it is and how it works and how it's going to change your life. Kind of why I'm wearing the shirt today. Expanding video, NDI. It's expanding video. So you want to be here for that. Guys, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Till next time, keep it buzzing.